Live from Darth Easy Studios in Eddyville, Kentucky. It's time for another episode of Darth Easy's TV Recap. Tonight, Saul Goodman is finally a lawyer, Picard contacts with a board ship, and Gorilla Grodd becomes the Flash. All that and more on this episode of Darth Easy TV Recap. Now your host, Darth Easy! Hello, Easy Nation, and welcome to another episode of Darth Easy's TV Recap. I'm actually on time this week, so that's kind of a rare little sight that you probably won't ever see again. So let's get right to it, and let's start talking about some TV. So first off, our first show of the week is we got Doctor Who, Series 12, Episode 9, The Ascension of the Cybermen. So this was a cool little episode because, we started last week with Doctor Who, where it introduced the low Cybermen that Captain Jack Harkness warned us about at the episode 4 or 5, I believe. So it was a cool little episode, but basically they go back they go to the future where the Cybermen have basically wiped out all humanity, and there's just a few remnants of humans left, and the Doctor and her crew are trying to stop the Cybermen. And I mean, it was cool seeing a lot of the stuff going on, a lot of timey-wimey space stuff. And then they get to this one planet, which is kind of like the sanctuary. It's like the purgatory before you go off to heaven. And the gatekeeper was the guy who played Barris Selby in Game of Thrones. So it's cool to see that guy again. But it activates a portal, which takes him to another world, and you see Gallifrey. And then the Master shows up. So I'm curious to see how this arc is and how this season is. But I'm ready for this finale next week. Let's move on to Batwoman, Season 1, Episode 13, Drink Me. Alright, so this episode was very interesting with Batwoman. Basically, Kate's feeling guilty because she let Alice die. And Beth got killed anyways. And so she's facing that guilt, and Batwoman this week faces off against a villain who is basically a vampire, but she's not a vampire. Like, she's not an actual vampire. What she does is she'll capture people and then suck them dry. That sounds dirty, but that's what she does. So and basically she needs blood because she can only operate at night. And also in this episode, Kate's sister-in-law figures out that Kate is Batwoman. And so we'll see, because I mean, in CW shows, the superhero identity is never a secret. So I'll be curious to watch, see what happens next in Batwoman. Let's move on to the best shows of the week, and that is Better Call Saul, Season 5, Episode 1, Magic Man. So the whole episode starts with every season of Better Call Saul starts out with them in the future, where it's a post-Breaking Bad world. He's living in Wisconsin, and someone makes him. They identify him as Saul Goodman, and so he calls the cleaner guy to get him out because he's been ID'd. But it was cool seeing that guy again because that guy recently died. I think he died actually the weekend of the week El Camino came out. So it was good seeing him one last time in the show. But basically, he says, no, I'll take care of it myself. So it's going to be I guess we won't find that out, though, till next season. But then we go back to the present where Jimmy has just finally got his lawyer license, and at the end of the season, he says, Saul Goodman. He's going to operate as Saul Goodman. And you understand why he does this, where Kate doesn't really understand at first, but Jimmy just says, I cannot go back to being the Jimmy McGill lawyer because that lawyer is always going to be overshadowed by Chuck McGill. So I think it makes perfect sense why he would have to change his name and everything. On the other side of the story, Mike, he's getting the Germans out. The construction of the laundry is put on halt until the Salamanca character is taken care of. And yeah, so that's basically all happened in this episode of Better Call Saul. Yeah, so it was a good episode. But there was a second episode, and that's what my next show is, Better Call Saul, Season 5, Episode 2, 50% off. So this episode, we see Nacho. Gus tells Nacho in a very threatening way, as Gus always does. He tells Nacho to get close to this the Salamanca character, and so he does everything he can. And also, we learn the name of Crazy Eight. The Salamanca character is the one that names him. They're playing poker, and he folded when he had two. He had two eights in his hands, and there was an 8 in a play of Texas Hold'em. So he could have won that game, but he just he was feeling a little shaken. But he basically names him Crazy Eight. So it's cool seeing that Crazy Eight is incarcerated. Also, we get our first kind of look at the DEA. We don't get to see Hank this episode because in the trailers we do see that Hank's going to be in this season. And also we have Saul. He is doing a bunch of cases, kind of get like a quick turnover rate, make some quick money. And at the end of the episode, Nacho is driving the car right next to Saul, and Nacho tells him to get in. So I'm assuming he's going to take Crazy Eight's case. So yeah, it was a good episode. I'm looking forward to this week's episode of Better Call Saul because it's probably my favorite show on TV right now. Alright, let's move on to Black Lightning, Season 3, Episode 14, The Book of War, Chapter 1, Homecoming. So, basically this episode, they're all home, and they're all trying to pick up their lives after Markovia. Khalil leaves, basically, Painkiller tries to get out, but Khalil is able to push him back, and basically, the one girl, she just says, like, I can't have you in my life right now, I love you, but I have to do what's best for our family. You know, he gets it. But it's kind of sad for them because they had such a great relationship. Also, the truth is revealed. They finally opened up the briefcase, which was, I believe, in last season with Tobias was trying to always open this briefcase. But basically, the briefcase holds the true history of the ADA, and basically, they were the ones that they used Markovia, like the Cold War, as a Black Ops site to create metahumans, and one got away, and it was the one guy from last week who could control, who was basically the push guy, and he was made out to be like the Captain America of like the DC universe. So it was a cool little episode. I liked the explanation. I'm curious to see where it ends with the. I'll be curious to see how this ends this season. So let's move on to The Flash, Season 6, Episode 13, Grodd Friended Me. So this episode of Flash, Barry gets, he's messing with Gideon to make her more operable. And in the episode, he gets stuck in his own mind. And what we realize is he entered Grodd's mind prison thing. And Grodd's trying to convince Barry to help him get out of this reality. And Barry's just like, I don't trust you. You've done all these bad days. But then Grodd says, over the time in this prison, I have kind of redeemed myself, or I've kind of learned how stupid I was. And he also sees how the world has changed due to the crisis. So yeah, I did like this. I like this episode of Flash, and it was cool seeing Flash and Gorilla Grodd combined, and Gorilla Grodd becomes the Flash, and I like how Grodd says, "I feel impossible," and it was cool seeing that. Also, we see the girl Iris has been working with in the Mirrorverse. Apparently, she activated the mirror power, and she's in league with the duplicate Iris. And also Piper Pipe is back. I guess he's now evil in this new reality. So yeah, let's move on to Legends Tomorrow, Season 5, Episode 6, Mortal Kombat. So this episode was very simple. It was Genghis Khan has come a lot back to life. Basically, he was buried a lot. He was basically buried, and for 700 years, he was trying to dig himself out. And he ends up in 1990s Hong Kong, when the British government is getting ready to give Hong Kong back to China. And so basically, Genghis Khan is trying to take over Hong Kong and act as he starts his world domination, because that's what Genghis Khan does. Also, we have Constantine. He is dying from lung cancer because of the the day that Astrid did last week's episode. So, but basically he convinces her, says, I can help you. If you let me live, I can help change your fate, keep your mom from alive. And Astrid's like, okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll do that. So, yeah, and also we found out Charlie is one of the old Greek gods who messes with the Luz. I believe I remember that character from, like, Hercules or something, who could see the fate, but she destroyed it because she didn't think people should see into the future. So, yeah, it was a good episode of Legends. Let's move on to Survivor, Season 40, Episode 3, Out for Blood. So, it was another good episode of Survivor. I mean, this has been a good season of Survivor. First off, we have the Isle of the Idols, the Edge of Extinction twist. This episode, basically, Sarah, she gets an extra vote. Natalie gets her extra vote, but Sarah has to go to the other tribe to steal a vote. I thought it was very fun, especially when Tony was helping Sarah get ready for the actual plan to sneak it to him, like put ash on her forehead to make her look a little more invisible. So that was very fun. It was kind of cool little op thing you're seeing. Also, so basically, Rob's tribe loses another challenge. It was a good challenge. I thought it was one of the best Survivor challenges I've seen in a very long time. Also, in this episode, we see so basically, it was cool seeing the panic at the camp, because basically they're all just sitting there for like, it looks like for 30, 40 minutes, all just sitting there silent. They're all like, well, I don't want to make the first one move. I don't want to make the first move. And it was just kind of a interesting. So basically, the plan was to vote out Parvati. And then Adam is like, well, I want to build ally. So he tells Ethan and he tells Boston Rob, because he thinks he can work with Boston Rob. And Boston Rob's like, this kid is stupid. He thinks he can go after me and my allies. I'm going after him because I'm Boston Rob. And it's cool seeing it's cool seeing that he's trying to turn the vote on him. And I'll tell you who's playing really good on this tribe is Michelle. And Michelle is someone who, she was very underrated, I think, because she played the season with Aubrey. And Aubrey probably should have won that season. Let's be honest with ourselves. But I think she's proven herself to be a pretty good player. And her and Jeremy, that little alliance there, is doing pretty good. She can't win if she takes Jeremy to the end, but I'm sure she's not going to be that stupid. But basically, at the vote, they vote out Ethan. The only thing I can see the vote out Ethan is because Ethan is going to be, he's never going to be a bigger threat than Boston Rob, or, I mean, really, of everyone on that tribe, he's probably the one they're like, yeah, we're not going to get rid of him. He's probably harmless. And so maybe keeping the bigger threats like Boston Rob and Parvati alive around is actually a better strategy. So, I guess. So, yeah, that's that episode of Survivor. I'm looking forward to see what happens next week. Let's move on to Riverdale, Season 4, Episode 14, Chapter 71, How to Get Away with Murder. So, this episode of Riverdale, basically what happens is they're trying, every day we see it from the flash forwards from all season long about Jughead's murder, and how they're trying to cover it up. And it's kind of interesting to see all the stuff they are doing. But basically, Betty is trying to get justice for Jughead, and she's thinking, was some kind of thing activated where I killed Jughead? And basically, no, it was, daughter was just messing with her, and I guess they killed Jughead. So the curious thing now is to see what happens. Betty basically helps them helps the sheriff and all of them find Jughead. They find Jughead, and now Donna's like, what are they doing? And Betty basically tells Donna, one way or the other, you're going down. So I'm curious to see where this ends this season. Let's move on to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Season 7, Episode 5, Debbie. So this episode was funny because last episode, Debbie stole all the cocaine, all the weapons from the evidence locker, and everyone's like, "Oh, who did it? And he's like, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." I mean, I think it's Dale or Doug or whatever, and they're like, Hitchcock is like, "You can't say it's weird, but I know who did it." And they're all like, Debbie. So it's kind of funny seeing. Also, it's funny seeing Amy and Holt are doing their speed reading. It was kind of funny to watch that. And also, you see Debbie, and also in this episode, it was just funny seeing Debbie interact with Peralta and Rosa. Funny episode. Let's move on to Star Trek Picard, Season 1, Episode 6, The Impossible Box. So this was a really good episode of Star Trek Picard. Basically, they go to the artifact where the one girl has been all season long, where they're trying to find her, protect her from the Romulans. And whenever they get a Federation pass, so Picard could go on the ship as kind of a diplomatic mission, as a way to avoid a war with the Romulans and the Federation. This was cool. It was cool seeing Picard back on a Romulan ship, because as soon as he gets on there, he's having PTSD. He's had flashbacks when he was a Romulan, and it was cool. And also, you find out who the director is. It's some guy called Hugh. I guess that's a character from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I didn't watch the show, so I can't really say I did that, because I didn't. But it was cool seeing them together again. You could tell that Picard always trusted this guy. And basically, the girl is figuring out that there's something not right, because all her stuff is only 3 years old. She said every day she has is only 3 years old. So what the hell is going on with this thing? So she keeps having to stream, and Sarek, I believe, not Sarek, I don't know what the guy's name is, the Romulan character. He's fallen in love with the girl, but he has to do what is best for his people, and he helps her go through this dream, and in the dream she finds the planet they're on, so they go off, and he tries to kill her. She escapes. Picard takes her with him, and they leave. Elrod protects Picard, and that's the episode of Star Trek Picard this week. I mean, very good, very tense episode. Loved it. I'm looking forward to seeing the last 4 episodes of this season. Let's talk about Diary of a Future President, Season 1, Episode 7, Foreign Relations. So this episode of Diary of a Future President, basically Elena is trying to get her crush to go out to ask her to the dance. And she sees that he is into 8th grade boys. Or 8th grade girls, my bad. Yeah, so she starts trying to act like an 8th grade boy or 8th grade girl, and doing everything an 8th grade girl would do. And then basically the 8th grade, she connects with an 8th grade girl who tells her that she's like, yeah, I remember when I was your age. Now I just try to act like a 9th grade girl. And so basically it's a whole point of Leia just figures out, I just gotta be myself. If he doesn't like me for who I am, then there's no point of him liking me. Also, Sasha, Elena's best friend, is in a poetry day. She tells Elena to go. She does it, and her and Jesse kind of reconnect. So I see a little potential fight in the near future of Diary of a Future President. So yeah, I like this episode of the show. Let's move on to Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 7, Episode 2, A Distant Echo. So this episode of Clone Wars, basically what happens is the Bad Batch plus Rex and Anakin go off to a planet where they believe the signal of Echo is happening, and the Techno unit have Rex or have Echo, and he's like devising all the plans that Rex and them came up with. So it was cool seeing all of them together. It was a cool little moment between Anakin and Padme, where you could tell Padme's pregnant. You can tell just a little bit, because it's set before Revenge of the Sith. I mean, the gap is slowly closing, but it was cool seeing that little. It was cool seeing that little moment episode of them two together. And Padme tells Anakin that Rex has become a lot like you. He jumps in without thinking, and I mean, you need to trust him. And so Anakin trusts him, and they do fight Echo, but he's like, I don't even know he's alive or anything. He's kind of alive, he's kind of not. Be curious to see what happens in the last 2 episodes of this arc. Let's move on to My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episode 18, School Festival. This episode was okay. It was, the only cool thing that happened in this episode basically is there's a new villain introduced called Gentle, who is basically streaming every day he does on on YouTube or whatever. So that was kind of interesting. Maybe become popular through the YouTube sphere. But the school festival part of the episode is every class, all the departments have their own little day for their festival, and what A is talk about doing like a concert or whatever. So it was cool. It was cool seeing a little episode of My Hero Academia. It was just cool seeing that. So yeah, I like this episode of My Hero Academia. Be curious to see. I'm ready for some more action and stuff, but okay. So guys, that is another episode of Darth Easy's TV Recap. Guys, make sure you check out me here every week on Sundays at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time sometimes, that I will have episodes of Darth Easy's TV Recap, talk about all the week that's going on TV. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Darth Easy, to the Easy K Show. It's a weekly podcast show I do with Freddie Cage. We talk about movie news stories. This upcoming week, we're talking about the movies that you should go see in March. Also, subscribe to the Darth Easy YouTube channel. I'll watch my latest movie reviews. I haven't done any lately, but that's about to change. So, guys, until next week, all too easy.
Johnny hates town, can't see or hear, kill communication, stepping off the grid just to let me know.